The Voyage of Philosophy. 11. Descartes' secret mind-body dualism and Ramachandran's phantom limb pain. 1. Mind-body dualism. Descartes, the father of modern philosophy, launched modern philosophy by advocating the principle, I think, therefore I am. Cogito, ergo sum. Based on this, he proposed the so-called mind-body dualism. Today, with the advancement of physical philosophy and neuroscience, mind-body dualism faces significant criticism. Notably, the philosopher of language, Gilbert Ryle, famously mocked it as the ghost in the machine. In today's YouTube video, we will use the phenomenon of phantom limb pain, which Descartes himself discussed as an opportunity, to re-examine the validity of mind-body dualism. The basis for Descartes' mind-body dualism, which separates the mind and the body into two completely independent and distinct substances, did not simply rely on an intuitive feeling. Rather, it was a logical and inevitable conclusion, derived through his philosophical methodology, methodological skepticism. Feeling skeptical about the academic uncertainties of his time, he sought to find a foundation of absolute, indubitable truth. In this process, he subjected everything to doubt, including sensory information, mathematical truths, and even the possibility that an omnipotent evil demon was deceiving him. After this thorough doubt, the only undeniable truth Descartes reached was, I think, therefore I am. Cogito, ergo sum. Even at the very moment I am doubting everything, the existence of I as the subject who is thinking can never be doubted. Here Descartes explores the essence of this undoubtedly existing I. He discovers that while the fact that he has a physical body remains doubtful, as it could be a dream or a demon's deception, the fact that he is thinking cannot be separated from him. Therefore, the essence of the certainly existing I is solely thinking, and he reaches the conclusion that I is essentially a thinking substance, res cogitans, namely, the mind. On the other hand, the basis for the existence of the body is completely different from that of the mind. Descartes argued that we should only accept as truth what we perceive clearly and distinctly. The essence of the body he perceived was not thinking like the mind, but rather taking up space and having mass, that is, extension. The body is essentially an extended substance, res extensa, and is like a machine governed by the laws of physics. Descartes viewed these two essential attributes, thought and extension, as completely heterogeneous and contradictory. This is because the mind cannot be divided, indivisibility, and has no form, whereas the body can be infinitely divided, divisibility, and possesses form. Descartes' core logic is based on this difference, in clear and distinct perception. If I clearly and distinctly understand my mind as a thinking thing, and my body solely as an extended thing, and if I cannot find any common attributes between these two concepts, then they must be completely different substances. Furthermore, since an omnipotent God could actually create the two objects, I perceive clearly and distinctly to exist separately. Descartes argued that the mind and body are ontologically completely independent and separate substances, even if they are united in the present world. Ultimately, the derivation of the mind's inevitable certainty through methodological skepticism and the clear and distinct perception of the mutual exclusivity of the attributes of thought and extension served as a solid ideological foundation for Cartesian dualism. 2. Criticisms of mind-body dualism. Descartes' mind-body dualism explains the distinction between the mind, consciousness, and matter well, but in many cases of everyday life, it encounters the phenomenon that the mind and body are not two, but one that is. The mind and body communicate with each other. Because of this, mind-body dualism receives much criticism. Here are a few of those critical theories. A. The problem of interaction. The criticism asks, for example, if I think I should raise my arm, mind, how does the physical arm move, bodily movement? Conversely, if a foot is crushed, body, how does the feeling of pain, mental reaction arise? Regarding this, Descartes argued that the mind and body meet in a small organ in the brain called the pineal gland. However, this only pointed out a location and failed to explain the mechanism by which the non-physical affects the physical itself, thus falling short of being a fundamental answer. B. Causal closure of the physical. This is a strong criticism raised in modern science and philosophy. One of the fundamental principles of modern physics is that every physical event has a sufficient physical cause. This is known as the causal closure of the physical world. According to the law of conservation of energy, energy or mass only moves and transforms within the physical realm. It cannot be newly introduced from the outside, the non-physical realm. If dualism were true, every time the mind moves the body, new energy or momentum would have to magically appear in the physical world. This directly conflicts with the most basic laws of modern science. See advances in neuroscience and physicalist evidence. The rapid development of modern neuroscience has significantly narrowed the standing of dualism. Electrically stimulating specific areas of the brain can trigger specific emotions or memories. Conversely, if the brain is damaged by accidents or diseases, things once considered mental, such as personality, memory, and thinking ability, are impaired or lost. This suggests that the mind is either an epiphenomenon of the brain or the brain's activity itself, eliminating the need to assume an independent mental substance. Category mistake. Gilbert Ryle. This is a unique criticism raised by the 20th century philosopher of language, Gilbert Ryle. He ridiculed dualism with the famous expression, ghost in the machine. For example, it is like someone visiting a university, touring the lecture halls, library, and athletic fields, and then asking, I've seen everything well, but where is the university? The university is not another separate building, existing apart from the lecture halls and library. It is merely the name of the system or organization that encompasses them all. According to Ryle, the mind is not another substance, a ghost existing separately from the body, but merely a term referring to a specific set of behaviors or functions performed by the body, especially the brain. 3. Phantom limb treatment and support for mind-body dualism. René Descartes' mind-body dualism strictly divides humans into the mind, res cogitans, a non-physical thinking substance, and the body, res extensa, a physical substance taking up space. From a modern neuroscientific perspective, phantom limb syndrome, or phantom limb pain, the phenomenon of feeling pain in an amputated limb, is explained by brain plasticity and cortical map reorganization, and is often cited as evidence refuting dualism. However, according to Descartes' philosophical logic of his time, this phenomenon can actually serve as strong evidence, supporting the independence of the mind from the body. The reasons are as follows. Descartes actually expressed the phenomenon of the so-called phantom limb in his own writings. In Descartes' Meditations, he states the following. Descartes' mention of phantom limb pain in Meditations. From Meditation 6. Furthermore, I had heard from people whose arms or legs had been amputated that they sometimes seemed to feel pain in the part of the body they had already lost. Therefore, although it had not happened to me, I thought that I, too, when I felt pain in a limb of my body, should not be completely certain that the cause of the pain was actually in that limb. Recently, Dr. V.S. Ramachandran, a renowned figure in neuroscience, opened new horizons by conducting extensive research and treatments on phantom limb syndrome. Villanor S. Ramachandran is a giant in modern neuroscience, particularly noted for providing an innovative turning point in the research and treatment of phantom limb pain. He revealed that phantom limb pain is not simply a peripheral problem of severed nerves, but is due to brain plasticity and the reorganization of the cortical body map. Before Ramachandran, phantom limb pain was considered a signal coming from the non-existent leg, so treatments mainly involved reoperating on the amputation site or blocking the nerves, but the effects were minimal. Ramachandran focused on the body map in the brain's somatosensory cortex. The area responsible for the face is located right next to the area for the hand. When a hand is amputated, the hand area of the brain no longer receives sensory input. At this time, due to the brain's plasticity, the nerves of the neighboring face area invade or remap the hand area. As a result, when the patient's face is touched, a phenomenon occurs where they feel sensation, as if it were in the non-existent phantom hand. Phantom limb pain was thus an illusion of the brain, caused by the brain's map, becoming absurdly tangled and crossed. Based on this discovery, Ramachandran devised mirror box therapy, one of the most elegant and creative treatments in history. He provided patients with a box, equipped with a mirror in the center, and had them place their intact hand in front of the mirror. When the patient moves their intact hand and sees its reflection in the mirror, the brain receives powerful visual feedback, as if the lost phantom hand has come back to life and is moving. This visual illusion delivers new confirmation to the brain that the phantom hand, which felt painfully stiff or paralyzed, is moving. The brain recalibrates its tangled body map to match this visual information. And by perceiving positive signals about the lost arm, it blocks the vicious cycle of pain signals. Mirror box therapy drastically reduced or completely cured the phantom limb pain of countless patients, without the use of narcotic painkillers or surgery. Ramachandran's research proved that the brain is not a fixed and immutable machine, but a dynamic organ that changes and adapts throughout life. It is evaluated as a monumental achievement in neuroscience that revealed sensation and perception are not just physical inputs, but active, constructive processes of the brain. The philosophical interpretation of this is as follows. 1. First, phantom limb syndrome phenomenologically proves that the subject of pain is the mind, not the physical body. In Descartes' dualistic model, pain is the result of typical mind-body interaction. When physical damage transmits a signal through nerves to the brain pineal gland, the mind grasps this as an idea or feeling of pain. The key point here is that the subjective experience of pain itself occurs solely within the realm of the mind, the thinking substance. In the case of a phantom limb patient, the extended substance, the physical limb, that should be the physical cause of the pain, no longer exists. Nevertheless, the mind still generates and experiences a vivid idea of pain. This serves as evidence that the mental state of pain can exist, independently of the actual state of the physical body, and that the true locus place of pain is the mind, not the body. 2. Second, phantom limb syndrome reveals the fallibility of the senses, emphasizing that the mind is a more certain substance distinct from the body. Through methodological skepticism, Descartes viewed that the senses can be deceptive, and therefore cannot be the foundation of certain knowledge. In contrast, he argued that only my mind, which doubts and thinks, certainly exists. Phantom limb syndrome is a quintessential sensory deception, the subjective feeling that exists despite the absence of a physical substance, suggests that the mind can have its own independent world of ideas, transcending the direct inputs of the bodily machine. In other words, the fact that the mind's thinking activity of feeling pain continues, even after the body disappears, strengthens Descartes' argument that the mind is not an epiphenomenon, subordinate to the body, but an independently existing substance. In conclusion, Because subjective sensory experiences, pain occur independently within the mind, even when the physical extension body part has perished. Phantom limb syndrome can function as a philosophical basis, supporting Descartes' mind-body dualism, which posits that, although the mind and body influence each other, they are ontologically completely distinct and separate substances. 4. Conclusion. Ramachandran's research proved that the brain is not a fixed, immutable machine, but a dynamic organ that changes and adapts throughout a lifetime, as a monumental achievement in neuroscience, revealing that sensation and perception are active construction processes of the brain, rather than just physical inputs. This implies that the brain is not simply a part of the body or mere matter, but a tool that performs mental tasks. Therefore, future brain research should gradually move toward mental goals. The brain is precisely what corresponds to the pineal gland that Descartes posited for the union of mind and body.